Okay, thank you very much. Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Salama from Kantar, and I'm joined by four very different people in terms of their background and the businesses they're in. And what we're going to do is have a chat about the role of advertising in the internet, and both from a consumer point of view and from a money point of view. So what's really driving the internet? So let me just introduce the panel, and maybe as we go through, just ask them to explain briefly their company and their business model. So to what extent do you actually rely on advertising as part of your own business model at the moment? So to my right, I've got Robert, who was the founder of LivePerson. Maybe explain a bit about LivePerson. I should also say that when I looked you up, you were named as Person of the Day by Huffington Post in 2010. What made you Person of the Day?
Every year during Thanksgiving in New York City, we feed about 8,000 families turkey dinners. So I started it 13 years ago. So they felt that was honorable.
Very worthwhile. Fantastic thing to do. So Robert, just tell us a bit about LivePerson and what's your business model?
Sure. So at LivePerson, we provide technology for websites to engage their customers on site with chat, video, voice, content. So we're on the other side. When someone clicks on an ad on Google and they hit a landing page, we basically start connecting with that customer, and we have analytics, and then we have the engagement to drive that customer to a conversion. So I started the company 18 years ago. About 900 employees, and about 420 employees here in Israel. So this, for us, is all of our R&D is here today.
Fantastic. And your revenues come directly from clients paying you for your services?
Yeah, so basically we've got two models. One is a performance-based model where for every sale that happens on the website, we get paid. And then we have a model where we get paid for every interaction. So every time someone chats or does a video, we get paid for that. So,
okay, yeah. Thank you. Bruce, who's from the Nielsen company, who set up the Nielsen Innovate Fund here in Israel, which is focused on making investments, and prior history in companies like Time Warner, which obviously do rely a bit on advertising for some of their revenue. But Bruce, maybe just tell us a bit about, again, your model and the kind of things that you're looking at.
Yeah, so we don't give away turkeys, but we do work with a few turkeys, I guess. Our business model is we're partnered with the chief scientist of Israel, the OCS, under the Technological Incubator Program. And we have a phenomenal facility in Caesarea, just north of Tel Aviv, where we're investing in about 4 to 6 companies per year that are related to market research, market intelligence, consumer behavior, and ad tech. And our business model is a little different than the traditional Israeli VC model, where we put money to work and then we wait to get to the next round. Rather, because we're a strategic investor as well as a financial investor, our focus is where can we bring products to market, as opposed to build it and they will come. What's the problem that needs to get solved? How can we find someone to build it? And then who can we introduce them to out of the large array of clients that we have globally in 100 countries around the world?
Okay, thank you very much. Mike, who's the president of InfoSpace, that I think a number of people will be aware of, but again, maybe just tell us a bit about your business model and where advertising plays in your own business model.
Sure. We provide private label search services that are, it's meta search, so we bring in search feeds from Google, Yahoo, Bing, other search engines around the world. It's advertising based, that we also bring in feeds from Google, Bing, Yahoo, from a revenue standpoint. So we provide content and a monetization source for companies that are looking to sort of bring their brand forward rather than a typical co-brand with where Google or Yahoo may have primary branding. We allow a partner to use their branding and be primary. We're white labeled, and we allow them to have a sort of customized experience depending on is monetization more important or is the content more important, and we have all that expertise that we can bring to the user experience.
So you're 100% reliant on advertising. I mean,
the microphone like this.
Okay. You're 100% reliant on advertising. Without advertising, the internet might exist, but your company wouldn't.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
And then finally, Alex, who is a VP and one of the co-founders of Softonic, named as one of the leading place to work in Spain, the best place to work in Spain. What makes it such a fantastic company?
I think it's the people and our philosophy. And unfortunately, we have not a base here in Tel Aviv, but I think Tel Aviv and Barcelona, they're very similar. Except it's a little bit hotter now here than in Barcelona.
And just tell us a bit about Softonic and your business model.
Well, Softonic is the leading platform when it comes to tech-related issues in the internet or mobile sites. It's, we have more than 250 million visits every month, which makes us one of the top websites in the world. And it's everything related to software. We distribute about 6 million software pieces every day.
And the model is you're not advertising at all. Everyone comes onto your site.
95% of our revenue comes directly from advertising, either from the software vendors who do want to get new users, or general media.
Okay, so let's start when we think about this question. When we think about this question about is advertising driving the internet, we can think about it. It's a lot there. We can think about it in two ways. One is from a consumer point of view. Is the consumer experience really an advertising-driven experience? And we can think about it from a monetization point of view. So is advertising really providing the funding for the internet throughout? So maybe let's take those two separately, and let's start with the consumer experience. To what extent do you guys feel that really the consumer experience is being driven by advertising? Rob, maybe you just start.
Well, there's something interesting. We monitor all the traffic on the site, so we see in real time statistics about conversion rates and bounce rates and things like that. So if you take, we're monitoring about 550 million uniques a month across 9,000 sites and all these big retailers. So there's some interesting stats we see. 50% of people who click on a Google ad, when they hit a landing page, will just leave. So when you think about it, it's about $12 billion in Google's revenues never make it past one click. And then to move it even further down the funnel, only about 1%, even today, it's the same as it was in 1995, only 1% of people who saw an ad come to a site will convert. So when I look at the challenges today, some of the things that we see is that people, they click on an ad, they're given an offer, whatever it is, they hit a landing page, and then we see them go off the path. And so I think the consumer experience, it's not connected to the on-site experience. So everyone's worried about how do we get them to click. The inefficiency today is actually more in how do we get them to convert. And so I think that's the part that there's something missing on the consumer experience when it comes to, I saw something, an ad that made me click, but when I landed, I didn't feel confident enough to get across the finish line. So.
And it could be that it just wasn't of interest to them. I mean, we always kind of compare the internet, we think about it on its own, but in other media as well, people aren't always reacting to ads that they see.
The problem that we have with that a little bit is that we find when we do things like we'll mimic the ad on the site, we increase conversions. If we engage the consumer in a more intelligent way, we actually increase conversion. So logic says that it can't be 99% of the people just got confused.
Right.
So my feeling is that if the advertising was more connected to the on-site experience, maybe conversion rates would be like 5 or 10%. You know, in a sales environment, usually like 10% of qualified leads will convert, but it's very bad in e-commerce. So I think there's got to be a greater coupling between these two parts, on-site and off-site.
Alex, do you see the same thing when people come onto your site, that people will come to the site and you'll lose a lot of the traffic there?
Yeah, that's one of our key indicators is the bounce rate. And well, it's going down. That's good news, but it's still at a very high percentage. And it's like around 50% of the users who come to our websites, they just don't do the action, and that's the download or getting a piece of software. And that's, of course, hurting.
Now, the way that both of you are talking is really thinking about advertising as a direct marketing medium. I mean, you're both talking at it as a mechanism to actually convert, translate into a sale. Bruce, when we were talking earlier on, you were saying one of the issues around advertising is that people aren't thinking about it as a top-of-the-funnel mechanism in terms of driving brand engagement or awareness about a brand.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that's most interesting about digital advertising is that compared to traditional advertising like television, most of the dollars that are spent on television advertising are spent by brands, for brand advertisers trying to reach audience. Digital is still dominated by direct. And so the question is, while everybody is still focused on clicks and engagement and what the measure is for conversion, how much missing money is out there in terms of advertising for brand dollars for finding the right metrics and the right methodologies for attracting brands to digital platforms?
I always remember working with American Express, who are one of the best direct marketers in the world, really, who think very carefully not just about the 5-10% of people who will respond to one of their calls to action, but about the impact on the brand of the other 95% who don't. But there aren't that many advertisers who are really thinking that way.
Well, I think that, and just to speak a little bit about what Nielsen's doing in that space, because the majority of our business comes from brands, and we support brand advertisers. That's our business. We're leveraging some of the best technology tools that are available on the internet, including partnership with Facebook and some new technology that we're using through a product called Online Campaign Ratings, where if we can tell the advertiser something about the people who saw the ad beyond just a cookie. In other words, more than just the history of their web traffic experience, but who they really are, their demos, their income, their gender, things like that, that it gets brands a lot more interested. And so what we're finding is that with the right tools, in the right ad networks, brands will come to digital.
Mike, when you talk to your clients, is the only thing they're interested in the click-through and the conversion rate, or do any of the clients that you have look at other metrics as well?
Well, I would say from our search engine company standpoint, everyone's very performance oriented, right? Clicks, conversions, and it may be, in the end, it may be part of the downfall of that is that it's all performance-based, it's not brand-based. For example, one of our companies did a Super Bowl ad a couple of years, and which is probably the least performance-based type of advertising that you can do. And we saw a huge tail that came after doing that 2 years ago, watching the flow of users come to the site versus not running the ad in this last Super Bowl and not seeing the same sort of user behavior. So, it's in the search space, all performance-based, navigation-based, and that's how the advertisers think about it.
Can I just ask if there's any brand advertisers in the audience at all who think about the metrics that they're looking at and think about anything other than very direct marketing, performance-based metrics? Are any of you looking at brand engagement in any kind of way, or any other kind of metrics which are about the emotional connection with the brand as opposed to the performance? So either maybe we've got no brand advertisers in the audience, or maybe none of them are doing it. I'm not sure what the answer is. Okay, well, let's come back to this thing. So, I don't know if any of you have got experience of non-internet advertising. I mean, do you feel that the internet is held to a different standard from this point of view than other media? I mean, you look at customer engagement. Is that a purely transactional measure, or can you look at it in different ways?
Well, there's actually two sides of it. And there's the pure sales people who run sales on a website, and they're looking at the conversion. But then we see on more of the support side is the net promoter scores. So what is somebody, are they recommending the brand to another friend? Customer satisfaction scores. So one of the things that we see today is that most brands feel like their products are commodities. But now what they're looking at is engagement as a way to separate themselves from the commodity. And I don't know if you saw Amazon launched the Kindle with this Mayday button that in one click you can get a video with somebody in their company ask questions. 60,000 articles were written around Mayday in 2 weeks, and not much is written around more than the Kindle itself. So I think what's happening now is they're thinking about how do we engage our consumers, and now what we're starting to look at is bringing that into obviously social. So they're engaging in the social space, mobile. So they're creating engagement. So I think advertising, from my perspective, actually is going to have putting more people, more of their engagement strategies out versus just a banner or something on Google. So that's what I'm seeing a shift right now in our customer base. And these are the big banks and big telcos and people like that.
Alex?
I also think it's I think the internet created this stage towards the advertising industry where we always said, oh, you have to do advertising in the internet because you can track it. There's conversion, direct conversion. And then we created, with the media companies, some hope. And I think at the stage right now, we're at the tipping point where the media companies say, oh, great, now we can convert everything and we can track everything. And now we go back and say, hey, but it's branding, and not only conversion, not only tracking. And that's kind of interesting in the stage where we're at now, especially when we take a look that we all talk about 24/7, 365, being online, being reachable, trackable through different devices, multi-platforms. I think, and with the ability to use big data, it's going to be a very interesting stage where we're seeing right now with the technology behind, how we can get the branding perspective inside this picture.
Okay. We were talking before thank you. We were talking before we came up on stage about the evolution of the internet, and if you look at other media, advertising isn't always as dominant. So if you look at the TV industry, if you look at markets like the US or the UK, subscription revenues are quite substantial, and for the industry, I mean, subscription revenues actually are bigger than advertising revenues in some of these markets now. Now, the internet has grown up with the feeling that content is free, and obviously someone needs to pay for it, but for consumers, content is free. Do you see any examples of where consumers are really having to think seriously about paying for content, or do you think content is free as something that we have to deal with?
Well, I think that Netflix has really created a new paradigm as far as the consumption of content, and the fact that even younger demographics that typically we don't think about as being willing to pay for premium content, paying for that content, is something that is, number one, should cause everyone to think, again about subscription models and whether a subscription model can work and under what circumstances. And then also, when you look at Netflix, and there have been several studies that have come out recently around Netflix consumption, the number of hours that people spent watching Breaking Bad the day before the final episode, spending 12, 20 hours consuming Netflix nonstop, whether converting a platform like that, an all-you-can-eat platform, into something that's more measurable for advertisers and creating a hybrid platform that incorporates advertising is also interesting. So I don't think that subscription is dead in digital, and I think Netflix has really helped to revive the notion.
Anyone else on this point about subscriptions and